As unlikable numbers of Trump and Hillary continue to skyrocket, in their first interview since the poll was released, we're joined by Libertarian candidate Gary Johnson and running mate Bill Weld, live from Las Vegas. Welcome to you both, gentlemen. Thank you so much for being here.
Liz, thank you.
Thank you, Liz.
Governor Johnson, you need a 15% threshold to qualify for the presidential debates. What is your specific plan, your grassroots plan or otherwise, to get there and be allowed to participate in the debates?
Well, it's right now, Liz, the fact that you've got us on in this interview, I'm sure this is going to get us over 15%.
Yeah.
But that said, you know, Fox Business News, come on, you report Clinton and Trump at 40-40. How about reporting where the majority of the rest of that is, which would be Johnson-Weld? I mean, that's really where it lies, Liz. You gotta include three names. And if you will do that along with everybody else, I think that we will survive the scrutiny that will go along with being acknowledged for where we're really at.
Okay, but don't you need to work the phones? When I say a grassroots plan, don't you need to do something to get people to start answering when the pollsters call up and somehow get them to get to your side? What is that plan?
Well, it is getting these earned media appearances, and really is pivotal. And right now, there's an insatiable appetite. I think the appetite would be even greater if, like I say, right at the top, you just report three names as opposed to the two, because there's a big gap. 20-point gap.
Well, what about going after Bernie voters? Okay, Governor Weld, does that mean that you guys, if you go after those voters, do you agree with his protectionist policies where he is very much against some of the trade deals?
Oh, good Lord, no. I mean, if you, we're both economic conservatives and focused on job creation, and I think one of the big differences between us and the other two candidates is that we're unabashed free traders. And free trade, you know, that Japanese tech company you just were describing with the $8.5 billion market cap, that's a good example. Mr. Trump wants to impose a huge tariff on the goods of various countries and have a closed economy and tell everyone in America you don't have to compete with the world. Well, that's just not realistic. So we think an open economy is the way to go. We think a lot more emphasis on the kinds of industries that have high wages. Generally, free trade favors the United States with high-wage jobs. Any low-wage jobs that are lost are more than offset by high-wage jobs. You may remember, Liz, from your days in Massachusetts, we emphasized software and telecom and biotech, which are high-wage industries, and it was to the advantage of the workers in Massachusetts. The average wage went way up. Retraining, resettlement, in case there is a slide-off in an area, is also very important, and I think the government has a big role to play there. Well, but if you really focus on it, I think we can cushion any negativity coming from open and free trade, and then you reap the benefits for the United States, which has the highest productivity in the world per worker by far.
You just differentiated yourself from Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, who, by the way, is just walking out on stage in Virginia to appear with Tim Kaine, the senator there. Governor Johnson, to taxes, because Hillary Clinton says she'd like to raise them on the higher earners, and Donald Trump says he wants to bring them down for just about everybody. Both of their plans, when they are scaled and squared by some of the independent groups out there, add to the deficit. Do you believe in trickle-down economics, tax cuts on the highest earners? Does that work?
Well, this is all about equal opportunity. Government can create equal opportunity. I don't know so much about income equality, but equal opportunity, absolutely. So count on us to reduce regulation, count on us to lower taxes. That being positive, that being a job creator. If I could wave a magic wand, Liz, and I'm looking to get elected president of the United States, but if I could wave a magic wand, I would eliminate income tax, I would eliminate corporate tax, I would abolish the IRS, and I would replace all of it with one federal consumption tax. If we did not have corporate tax in this country, tens of millions of jobs would get created in this country, because why would you do that anywhere in the world other than the United States with a zero corporate tax rate?
You know, Liz, we both did cut taxes a lot when we were governors in office. Gary cut taxes 14 times in New Mexico, never raised them. I cut taxes 21 times in Massachusetts, never raised them. In my first term, the unemployment rate in Massachusetts went from the highest among the 11 industrial states to the lowest. And so my answer is I do think tax cuts work. It's important for the employer community to know that there's a one-way ratchet and taxes are only going to go down.
Okay, but
they don't have to be big
gentlemen, let me
tax
interrupt
cuts, but it's
because
predictability.
People here depend on certain things like Social Security and welfare, these entitlement programs. We had Alan Greenspan on today. Listen to what he said about that. He is warning about them being so bloated, and then I'll get you to comment.
We're seeing an aging of the population very rapidly, and that means essentially that an ever-increasing share of those in the population who are entitled to Medicare and Social Security rise inexorably for the next number of years.
Yeah.
And that is going to mean that you're going to get entitlements driving out or crowding out basically gross domestic savings.
Governor Johnson, who deserves a safety net? Who should be booted from it? Would you means test and not have billionaires start to receive Social Security checks anymore?
Well, this is where we're different than Clinton and Trump also, is the entitlements do need to get addressed. Look, when it comes to Social Security, raising the retirement age, you could have a very fair means testing to Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare. I think that these functions are going to have to devolve to the states. Yes, there should be a safety net, but if we continue on our present path, it's a fiscal disaster. It's over the cliff unless we address these. And here are the two guys that recognize this, as opposed to, gee, I guess we'll just put our heads in the sand and it'll fix itself. I don't think so.
Governor Weld, you were reelected in Massachusetts with the highest margins in history of Massachusetts. You got there because you balanced the budget, as you talked about. You privatized many state services, but a national challenge is a lot bigger. I need to get to infrastructure. Would you guys put together an infrastructure plan that's shovel-ready to create jobs?
You mean a TARP-type program?
Not necessarily TARP, but some type of stimulus that is guaranteed to go to infrastructure.
You're asking me? I'm not so sure about that. Gary?
Well, Liz, you know, private sector creates jobs, not the public sector. Does the public sector, federal government, have a role when it comes to infrastructure? Look, we collect taxes for this. One of the problems is that the taxes we collect don't actually go to the infrastructure that they're meant to actually improve on. So are we going to change that formula? Not necessarily, but look, government stimulus when it comes to jobs is tax policy, is a certainty. When it comes to regulation, there's going to be a certainty here that rules and regulations are going to be protect consumers, but, you know, advance an individual being an entrepreneur.
You know, you sometimes hear from national Democrats, including, I think, the president and Senator Warren of Massachusetts, addressing the owner of a small business, saying, you didn't create that job, the government created that job. I profoundly disagree with that. I think jobs come from the private sector, and the fact is that 80% of the new jobs come from the small business sector. We have to focus on that part of the economy.
Well, you both have had successes with your respective states. We appreciate you coming. Please come back again as we follow your trajectory. Former Governors Johnson and Weld, thank you so much.
Thanks, Liz, and thanks for getting us over 15%. I'm sure a poll tomorrow will reflect that. Thank you.
Right, we'll check the next poll.